Welcome to the 12th century. In this era, the survival of the social order depended on absolute obedience. To ask the wrong question was to risk exile, imprisonment, or worse. Knowledge was a closed circuit. Inside the walls of monastery and cathedral schools, monks dictated approved doctrines to silent rooms. Students spent their years as passive recipients, copying approved texts word for word without the possibility of debate. By the start of the 1100s, intellectual life was essentially static. Unless someone challenged the cycle of uncritical copying, the continent's scholarly output would remain frozen in the traditions of the past. Peter Abelard was the figure who broke that cycle. He was a brilliant, often arrogant young scholar, who contemporaries called the knight-errant of philosophy, because he wandered the French provinces seeking out the highest seats of learning for the express purpose of attacking them. He targeted the most prestigious masters of his day. At the height of their power, figures like William of Champeaux and Anselm of Laon found themselves confronted by this young philosopher who possessed no title other than his own genius. Abelard's weapon was dialectics. He didn't just disagree with the masters, he used their own sacred texts to publicly humiliate them, exposing flaws in their logic and leaving their reputations in tatters in front of their own students. By dismantling the most famous masters in France, Abelard introduced a crack in the armor of absolute authority. He demonstrated that the old methods were insufficient to resolve the contradictions in their own books, leaving a generation of eager students looking for a more rigorous path to the truth. He provided that path with a method called sic and non, yes and no. Abelard gathered contradictory opinions from revered church fathers on 158 theological questions, pitting them against one another. This forced students to stop memorizing and start thinking. Because authorities disagreed, scholars had to apply logic to navigate contradictions and build their own conclusions. This method required an exhaustive, granular scrutiny of the written word. Masters began to dissect texts phrase by phrase, defining every cause and consequence of a single sentence before allowing the class to move forward. The lecture hall was no longer a place of quiet dictation. Silence was replaced by the noise of aggressive combat, where every proposition was a target for logical investigation. This new approach sparked a massive migration. Thousands of young men left their homes across Europe, walking for weeks across the continent for the sole purpose of hearing Abelard speak in Paris. They lived in brutal conditions. In the freezing 5 a.m. darkness, students crowded into the Rue du Foire, sitting on straw-covered floors to ward off the dampness while they waited for the morning lessons to begin. Many of these students survived on the margins of poverty, yet they prioritized renting expensive manuscripts and meticulously copying Aristotle by hand, driven by a ferocious ardor for knowledge. This wasn't a local school, it was a rebellious, continent-wide youth movement. These thousands of students were united by a singular, obsessive belief that truth could be reached through the application of the human mind. The religious establishment reacted with sheer panic. Abelard's method of independent inquiry threatened the very structure of the church, which relied on unthinking submission to its decrees. They moved to silence him. Abelard was condemned by church councils, separated from his wife Heloise, and physically forced to throw his life's work into a roaring fire. He was eventually imprisoned in a monastery, silenced and bound like a wild rhinoceros. The authorities intended to enforce a permanent end to his influence. The establishment believed that by suppressing the man, they had successfully killed his ideas. It was a fatal miscalculation. Abelard was locked away, but his thousands of students remained in Paris. The attempt at suppression backfired. The sheer volume of students in Paris had grown too large to be contained by the old monastic structures. To protect themselves in a city with no police and hostile locals, these foreign students banded together into protective guilds known as nations, divided by their countries of origin. These student guilds became powerful. They used their collective leverage to hire their own masters and formalized their training into specific faculties: law, medicine, and theology, each with its own dean and requirements. It is a grand irony of history. Out of the ashes of a condemned rebel's career, the enduring institutional structure of the modern university was born. The Middle Ages are often dismissed as a time of unthinking superstition. But these text-obsessed debates provided the rigorous mental training humanity needed to eventually move toward the scientific revolution. The university grew from the ground up. It was the product of a rebellion, the result of a single philosopher's insisting that even the most sacred dogmas must withstand the fires of logical debate. This 12th century conflict proved that knowledge is not a static destination you arrive at through obedience, but a permanent, ongoing debate. If you want to continue exploring the history of the ideas that shaped our world, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and never stop questioning the status quo.